Hello and welcome back to my little garage. We're back with a bit of a problem, with a bit of a troubleshooting. Everybody's favorite electrical issue on my Tiger, on my Triumph Tiger. So welcome back. Let's see what can we do. So my little Tiger has been misbehaving for the last couple of months. And the problem, it's getting worse. What the problem? Well, let me show you and then I'll explain. By the way, I wasn't gonna film any of this, but I figured that if we manage to get it fixed, maybe it will help some of you guys that have a similar problem, in the future. Don't know how well the camera can pick it up, but you can see the lights are flickering. You can see on the garage door the flicker on the lights. And trust me, it gets worse when a bike warms up. When the rectifier, regulator and the battery, everything just goes up to operating temperature, this problem is much worse. Right, so the battery sits happily, you can see this, 13.7 volt, and it's a pretty brand new battery. I've replaced this battery about 2 months ago, hoping the problem will go away, because the previous battery has been quite old. And it did help to a degree, but not really, no, so the battery wasn't the case. And this being a brand new battery, fully charged as well, sits nicely on 13.7 volt, as you can see. If I get start the bike, first of all, there's a big delay from when I turned the ignition, which was just now. There you go. The ECU kicks in, the primer primes the carbs, whatever it does, the fuel pump initiates. There's a good 5-6 seconds delay before that starts. And I'm talking and it's still doing it. And only now the bike is ready to start, which again, it indicates the problem. It shouldn't be like that. This should not be happening. This should be pretty much instantaneous. You switch the key, 2 seconds later, everything is done and you can start it. Not the case. Sometimes I need to sit 10-15 seconds before I can actually start the bike. So anyway, with the ignition on, the lights on, it's 12.28 volt. If we start the bike, we're running 40.7, which is alright. Don't know if you guys can hear me, but this seems alright. Now the main problem, let's have a look. Again, don't know how well camera can pick it up, but the lights are flickering quite badly right now. Maybe now you can see it better. The flicker is very apparent when the operating temperature engine goes to the operating temperature. And that's every bulb, the stationary bulb over here. As you can see right now, it's getting worse because the bike is getting temperature. That's apparent on everything, on the controls, the taillight. Again guys, not sure if you heard me over the engine noise and whether camera picked it up, but headlights and every electronic device basically flickers really badly. As the idle goes, woo, 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 the lights flicker in the same manner. It doesn't matter if I beef it up a little bit or not, it just gets brighter or dimmer, but it's flickers like crazy. And that indicates a bigger problem. But that's not the only thing. It affects the idle speed quite dramatically. It's supposed to sit at about 1400 RPM, 1500. Often it sits at 2000 RPM, so revs quite high. The other time it drops below 1000 RPM and it stalls the engine. And that's very annoying, riding operating temperature, riding in traffic at a hot day. You need to constantly battle the throttle and it just can't be healthy. So I think I'm gonna have a look and see whether we can find a problem and see if we can cure it. Right, so I've done some research in the forums and over the online, wealth of knowledge, and as I thought, it most likely is going to be a rectifier regulator. I mean, the bike's done 45,000 miles, which is not really a lot for a well-maintained engine of this caliber. still, all the components can, got a, lifespan, they can wear off, especially electrical components. The rectifier regulator is the main offender here, I think. However, before I go replace expensive parts, I thought I'm gonna strip it apart, see if there's any dirty connections, anything that is corroded, anything that needs tightening up, maybe some connections need re-greasing, some dielectric grease. I've got all this, and I've got a whole afternoon, oops, I got a whole afternoon on Sunday, and I thought, you know what, this is my daily ride, that needs to be fixed, I need to look into that. So in the meantime, if you have any other ideas, let me know in the comment below. I'm gonna crack on and open that rectifier regulator, see if there's anything over there that is obvious. Needless to say, before I play with any electrics, the battery has been disconnected, so there's no power running through any of the circuits. Right, so I found the easy way to get it into the rectifier regulator itself. You need to remove the plastic panels from each side of a bike just to get access to the radiator. The rod guard needs to come off, and the rod itself, I was hoping I can do this job without draining the coolant, and I kind of can. You can kind of suspend the radiator on its own piping, and it's a tight fit, but you can see the regulator rectifier is right over there, so I can remove it and obviously check the connections and see whether there's any damage, any corrosion over here, and guide down the cables and see what is happening. But this bad boy is right over there. As I said, it's a bit of a tight fit, but you can get it done without removing the rod completely, which is good, because it will be another additional pain in the ass to get it drained and refilled. It's not the end of the world, but if we can avoid it, why not? So I'm going to take it off next, and we're going to have a closer look at it. Okay, so I got this bad boy off. It looks really good. Looks really good condition. All the connections are alright. However, very strange on that connector on the right hand side, this one, which had 3 pins, because this one got only 2. It appears to be something like an oil inside this connector, which is really strange, because the one on the left hand side is completely dry, no issues with it. The one on the right hand side, let me get some light on it so you can see. The one on the right hand side, which is this bad boy right there, right? From the top it looks completely clean. Hang on, wowie. Completely clean and dry, and there's no issues with it. However, I unplugged it, and immediately, you can see there, immediately oil was dripping out of it, and it looks like an engine oil, clean engine oil. So nothing was dripping from it from the top, because top of the connector is clean. It looked like somebody on purpose filled it up with a little bit of oil, but just one, not both of them, just one, as in to protect it from, I don't know, corrosion, from moisture getting in there, water getting in there, which I don't think is correct. I don't think it should be like this, especially it's being completely drained with oil to a point. I told you, I opened it up and it was dripping. Oil was actually dripping out of it, so I put a tissue in there to wipe it clean, but it's strange. Why would somebody do that? As you can see over here, it dripped all over the fan. It wasn't a huge amount, there's a few drops, but enough of that oil to sit in there. And looking underneath the bike here, there's no spots or indication that that oil should be there, and especially that was clean oil. It looks like an engine oil, but clean, as in not run through the engine or anything like that. So you can see it here. It drips, and it's definitely oil, like engine oil like substance, so it's definitely in there. I wonder whether that contributes to the problem I was having. Obviously there's no real way of testing these units. They either work or they don't. I've read on the forums the low voltage part can be just burning out in it. When it gets warmed up, it's just not happy anymore. And I've read a number of times that replacing that unit resolved the whole situation. I was wondering if, guys, you have any more experience in that. Maybe you had a bike like this with the same problem, or something else with flickering lights and that was the issue. But I don't see any other problem with connections other than that oil in there, which can or cannot contribute to the problem. What I'm going to do, I'm going to clean it up and plug back in, see whether that's going to make any difference whatsoever. I used a electrical contact cleaner, sprayed it in the connectors, and I drove all that oil nicely out of there. You can see the connections are really good condition. They clean. Well, this one was dry anyway. This one full of oil. I'm wondering whether that contributed to it. But why oil, guys? Tell me, because the connector was this one here only. This one was dry. But this one here, there's no way the oil could get from the top. It was dry anyway before I opened it up. But it looks like somebody on purpose put oil into that connector, engine oil. Is there a trick? Is this something, you know, you do to stop water getting in there? Would that not interfere with electrical connections? Would that cause the problem I was seeing? Because it looks like just one of them connectors, this one and not that one, was filled with oil. Have you ever heard of this before? Because I certainly haven't. It's a new one for me. Maybe there is a trick like this. Maybe somebody using that for a purpose, but I've never heard of it before. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Yeah. But right, I'm cleaning up the rectifier regulator itself. Leave it out for a dry for a little bit. I'll plug it back in and I'll see whether the problem disappears or not. Okay, so I sprayed some contact cleaner in there. I gave it a good dry, reconnected everything, reconnected the battery. It's all loosely back together. Let's fire the ignition, see what happens. Well, the pump still doesn't initiate straight away. You can hear it just now, and it takes its time again. So I'm not overly positive. Oh. Well, let's see if the lights will flicker. Yep. Still the same. The problem is still there, and for comparison, when you start a couple of times, we'll turn the ignition on a couple of times, I'll show you how quickly that should initiate the petrol pump and everything else. So this is a healthy example. Ignition on. Immediately his bike is ready to be started. Previously I need to wait, you heard it, 10 seconds. Everything is like a kind of slow motion. Nevertheless, lights still flicker and you can hear it just not running right. Poor little Tiger is still not very healthy. I reckon I'm going to bite the bullet, order the new regulator rectifier, replace it. I'm hoping that is, you know, as simple as that. I did check all the other connections. The earth connection seems really solid. I cleaned all the battery terminals. Everything else seems to be okay, other than that little, well, it's 45,000 miles, maybe just something just, you know, gave up the ghost or failing. That needs to be looked into, because that flickering, it's not healthy, especially when it's affecting the idle at some point. All those electronic gadgets on bikes, unfortunately, doesn't help. So I'll be ordering the rectifier regulator and replace it, and we'll see if that make any difference. Here we are a few days later, and a new rectifier regulator arrived in the post today. So I'm about to fit this bad boy in and see whether that'll make any difference. Fucking success. The lights no longer flickering with the new rectifier regulator. When I turn the ignition, the fuel pump primes the car bodies straight away. There's no delay with it. So obviously this old rectifier regulator, even though it's still operational, it was failing on so many levels. It was just a matter of time before that would cause further damage to some other electrical components, to the battery, to the other charging system. I don't know what it could do, but it was time to go. I was riding with it for probably last 2, maybe 3 months, and it was getting progressively worse, so I had to target it as quickly as I could. Just for the record, if you are having the problem yourself, I didn't buy the original Triumph one. I went for the JMP rectifier regulator. I believe they German products. I don't know how good they are. That cost me 130, nearly 130 pounds, I think. And apparently it's as good or better than manufacturer's OEM specifications. So whatever that means, I don't know. Happy days. It seems to be working. I will obviously have to take it properly on the road, test it in traffic, test it in a longer trip. But so far the results are immediately better than before. So I'm hoping that was the problem. I will keep a close eye on it for the next couple of 100 miles, and if it needs to be, guys, I'll update you. If you don't see any more videos about it, that means everything worked. Obviously, if it breaks again, you will hear from me. I'm sure you will. There we go, reassuming the whole thing. If you have a problem on your Tiger 800, probably 1200 as well, or any other Triumph in fact, that the lights are flickering, first thing I did over here is check all the connections, make sure the battery is fully charged. If it is, that it's charging when the engine is running. Clean the connections, clean the terminals, make sure the earth connection to the engine there's no corrosion anywhere. Same with your connection to the rectifier regulator and all the cables all around the electrical system. It was all clean in my opinion, in my case, apart from fucking oil in one of those things, but that doesn't matter. All was clean, all was good. In the end of the day, that thing, even though it's still functioning, it was malfunctioning in a way. It's still usable piece, but it's failing, and it's failing into a point that it will leave me stranded one day when you least expect it. So that's going straight to the bin. The bike is operational now, and that's the main thing. Guys, thank you very much for watching. As always, have a beer, rock hard, and we'll see you very soon.